Hello, I'm Brandon Munson. I'm with Fulcrum Design Interactive, and today I'd like to walk you through our customer journey management technology for Essex County Family Assistance and Benefits. And this solution right here would be in a kiosk, either handheld or stationary, that a attendant can use and to check people in as they arrive. In this case, this kiosk would be set up with a keyboard, which is the most efficient and probably most accurate way of entering folks into a system. However, we do have the capability to add a touchscreen, so that's not an issue. In this one, I'm just going to show you using the keyboard. Customer will arrive, the attendant will click on virtual queue. This page is really for customers who would be coming in through like a remote join portal, like during COVID, or they'd view this on their own, say in a mobile phone view. So this probably won't be necessary if attendants are checking in, so it'd be one screen that we'd remove. Say agree. Here is where they would join the queue. You would enter their name, and then we can add different queues that they can join. And right here are the core queues. I'll put general assistance. Now, this may not be relevant. This just happened to be with one of our other clients when we were doing COVID and trying to maintain occupancy, safe occupancy levels. But we do have a second drop down here that can be anything you want that might be relevant. Put in a phone number and then click join queue. Now a ticket will come up, and this will be the ticket that will be printed out to the individual. Will also those who are using their mobile phone, they're going to get a text with this ticket ID, and that's going to be their ID for privacy's sake that they'll use going forward. And the ticket number will also appear on the digital display, so folks who don't have a mobile phone can follow their progress using the digital display. And that sets itself back. Right here we have which won't be necessary either, but if you did go virtual, this allows people who don't have a mobile phone, who are using the system remotely, to be able to look at where they are in line by their ticket number, which service they're in. So now when the queue managers log on, they're going to have, this is going to be their user interface. And there's a couple ways this can be organized. Right now I'm just showing one service queue per service. But let's say you have 4 or 5 folks that are handling temporary assistance. Then what we might do is have temporary assistance or general assistance essentially grouped together. So they're essentially looking at just their queues, so it's not too busy on the page. And they'll still be able to interact with the other queues as folks need to move through their customer journey, but it won't be as congested. But in this case, gives you a good idea of how a customer flow would work. Also up here, you'll be able to see some of the criteria for how this works. But here, if somebody for whatever reason needs to be put into the queue outside of the kiosk, they can add their name. We'll say they need emergency assistance. Again, this is an extra drop down or whatever selector you might find useful. We'll say family of 4. They'll put in their phone number if they have one. If they don't, that's fine. They can use a digital display, and then click add. And a ticket will be generated for them as well. Continue, and you can see they're dropped down into emergency assistance. So this opens up to the queue managers who are working these queues, because the idea is if they see somebody go into a queue, even though they might be working on Hector, but they catch a glimpse of the reason they're in the queue, the idea is through training is that there might be certain forms of documentation or what have you that's required to process people for certain benefits. So if staff is trained to kind of keep an alert for what's going on, by the time Ben comes up, they might already have whatever eligibility form is available for Ben, rather than waiting for Ben to show up and then having a 5 or 6 minute conversation that already occurred in general assistance about Ben, because right here it's already been determined. That way it could save, if it saves 2 or 3 minutes per customer times 600 customers, that allows you to have more throughput or also save time in line. So just an idea we can discuss. So there, temporary assistance. Now let's go, let me find here. You can start at the top or you can start anywhere in the queues. It's really depends how you guys want to organize it. You're going to see this is the sequence, of course. The notify button is the one that will alert them either by text message or by digital display. If I click notify, G009 is being called to general assistance. And obviously, if there's multiple general assistants, then it will be general assistance window 1, 2, 3, or what have you. So that's how they'll view it on the display. We can change call to something else if you prefer. Once Caesar shows up, what we want to do here is we're going to click notify again. We use notify to alert the customer. But once they show up, we want to click serve because that will start the transaction clock. So we want to record transactions and how long they take in particular queues. That way you can review your performance. It's a key performance indicator. Serve, and what this will do is it will start the transaction clock. We don't want to start it sooner. We want to start it when the customer actually arrives. As the transaction's proceeding, there's two ways to stop the clock. One, if in this case Caesar's solutions are met right here, you would click served, and that would remove them from the queue. Whatever time it took would go into the transaction report. However, Caesar's going to need what looks like SNAP benefits. So I'll put this in here. Whatever qualifications would be needed for SNAP to justify his eligibility would be noted perhaps. Click update. And then here, we want to move Caesar along in his benefit journey. And Caesar is now in that queue. Now, until notify is clicked for Caesar, the transaction stop clock has stopped. A whole new calculation of transaction time will start here, and when transferred will start at the next queue. We have a whole transaction journey you'll be able to see. But let me show you here. I'll use Brandon Munson. You can see here that we have the ticket number, the name. Click on it and you can edit or add information. This ability to change the queues. Move back is a function where if somebody's sort of delayed and you want to give them more time, you can hit move back. This is the time that they've been waiting to be seen, and then this is the time they entered the queue. Over here, if they're getting SMS messages, this is what we call a log. In this log, if somebody complains that they're not getting the messages or there's some glitch or some issue, you'll be able to look at the log, see the date and the time that it was sent. And right here is the phone number that it was sent from and who. So sometimes there's issues and they don't get the number. They don't get the message because the number might have been transcribed incorrectly. Status will show any errors. So if there's like a wrong number or something like that, it will show there. Just a way to troubleshoot. Also, if for whatever reason your staff needs the ability to send off a message for whatever reason, freehand, I don't know, something like that. So you have that flexibility in our system. If something needs to be sent off, might be a reminder or whatever the communication might be. Just keep in mind that if they reply back, you can't read it. So usually what you would do is add a phone number there if you want them to call you back. Okay, here we notify Brandon. And you'll see right here if we're using a cell number, this one shows you the number of times that Brandon's been notified and the last time he was notified. So for example, Brandon's not responding. Maybe we try him one more time. Now he can also be viewed up in the queue. So right here, up in the digital display. And so now it's 2 times and 11:24 still. Okay, at this point, Brandon shows up. Click notify and serve because now we're continuing with the transaction for Brandon. we find out that Brandon's eligible for New Jersey, we'll update that. There's a note, and there's New Jersey Family Care. And Brandon's not in New Jersey Family Care. Brandon gets notified. Brandon comes over, and we're going to serve him. That goes well. Brandon's now eligible for another service, apparently. You can get an EBT card. And again, wouldn't type an EBT card, you type in whatever would trigger eligibility. So when they go into the EBT queue, staff understands why they were sent there. And down to EBT. Notify Brandon. Okay. Brandon is served. If we look over here, you can see here's all the transactions, well, not transactions, communications to Brandon. So if someone said, I never got a call or never got a text, your staff is able to look right here. Plus you have the digital display. Okay, so Brandon is all set. You might want to make a final note. It's not necessary. I'm sure you have another system. But you can update that if you'd like. And then click served. Now, one thing you want to avoid doing as your staff is if, for example, you notify them and then they're not showing up. Unless somebody's put into the queue an error or they're not really there at all, that's when you use the delete button. In most cases, if somebody's not responding, we want to use the no show queue right here. What this will do is it's going to put them in this queue, but it's also going to send them a text message, assuming they are using text, in letting them know that they were removed from the queue and that they were moved to the no show queue. So that way, if they're, I don't know, dilly-dallying around somewhere, they see the message, they understand they've been removed. Or perhaps there was some sort of issue, they weren't getting text messages, or there was some emergency, maybe, I don't know, whatever it might be, and they come in and say, oh, I've been waiting all this time, something happened, whatever, then your staff can make the decision whether they want to see them or not. And so if they're in the no-show queue, you're able to move them back, where if you delete them, you're not able to move them back. So they're going to be put at the bottom of the queue, not where they were before, because it's timing algorithm, but it's highlighted. And this enables, if your staff wants to see them right away, they can just go down here and notify them. That's the primary highlights of the system.